and throw them at your feet, because we know you are awesome. You are worthy. You are mighty. Come do what only you can do. Come say to your people what you want to say to them tonight. In Jesus' name. And everyone said, amen and amen. You may be seated. All right, you guys ready to jump in? Few in number tonight, mighty in power. Amen? Amen. You know, about 5 years ago, my family and I were on a trip. We were on a family vacation. And it was an amazing trip, a lot of fun. We were hanging out, just enjoying each other's company. And, you know, we went to a lot of places, saw a lot of amazing things. But really, the gist of this trip was about family. It was about just hanging out with each other and about having fun together. One of the places we went to was SeaWorld. We're hanging in SeaWorld, and I'm sure many of you guys have been to amusement parks and things like this. But the thing that amazes me about these parks is the amount of people that are there. You know, I'm just totally guessing, you know, maybe 15,000 people that day. People everywhere. At the end of the day, we went to one of the shows, and it was Shamu. Has everybody been to Shamu? Everybody? Yeah? Brandy's like, I have no... We're picking on poor Shamu. But we were hanging out in the Shamu Stadium, and Shamu show. It's this... And it's awesome. How many... You know, it's cool to have fun yourself themselves. You know, there's a big glass waving. Best time they've had. Stuff in a park like that. You know, talk to you and splash you. Amazing. And to watch these kids just run around this stadium was the exit. I've been to a place like this. You know what happens when people exit? Shoving people out of the way, right? So all of a sudden this fun experience turned into absolute chaos, right? People are shoving and throwing you aside and everything else, and pretty sure, oh, we finally made it. And then all of a sudden we look around and we're missing two of our youngest kids. Two of our youngest. And we laugh, but let me promise you something, it wasn't a laughing matter whatsoever. We had a large group, and we're looking around like, who has? It was Haley, and it was her cousin, Hunter. And we're looking around like, who has Hunter and Haley, right? And, you know, you're thinking somebody's got to have them. Kids, they're hiding, right? No Haley and Hunter. Thank you. Panic. And so we're thinking, they're nowhere to be found. And at this point, you really know what's going on. Sheer, not panic, terror in a parent's mind. Terror. And all that you can think, all of a sudden, all you can think about is a world that wants to harm people and harm children. And that's all you can think about, is who grabbed my kid. Who, when heads were turned, grabbed my child and took off out the door with them. That's all you can think about. Sheer terror. You can't breathe. You can't focus. Moment. I knew Brianna. They were okay, and I left them to go find Haley because I was in sheer terror. Security, and they had gone out, they'd found security, and we found them, thank goodness. But it was a very scary thing to be caught in that moment, and I know that every person here, every parent, the fear, you know the lure of the world on our children, don't you? You know that in the sake, they were probably 6 or 7 years old, you know that those ice cream trucks are almost too much. And you know the lure on this world over our children. You know the dangers. So what do? As parents, we set rules, don't we? We set boundaries, don't we? We set guidelines on our children. Out of what? To dominate them? No, out of complete love and compassion for our children. We try to protect them, don't we? And here are our kids that are sitting here thinking, Dad, Mom, you're just narrow. Trying to take this world, the fun, away from me. So narrow, right? You're just too narrow. I'm the one that can protect my child. I know that I am their protector. I know that I would die for them. I would die for them. I know that. Something came at them, I would literally take a bullet for them, jump in front of a car for them. If somebody were to try to harm my children, this nice Shane that you guys know, the loving Shane that you know, this Shane that's trying to be a light into the world that you know, you can throw all that out the window. You try to harm my kid, I don't care if you see light in me, you're fixing to see your face on the ground because I am their protector, right? And all of a sudden, this nice guy Shane turns into not so nice Shane because I'm coming after them to protect my children. And I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that if my kids would just stay by my side, they would be okay. If they would just stay tight, hold my hand, they're going to be okay, right? I know that because the world cannot draw them away. The world cannot harm them when they are in my possession. Here's the point. The boundaries that I as a parent set are for protection, not control. Not to keep them from fun, not to keep them from happiness, not out of legalism to control them, but as a father, it's all out of love, right? Think about this. I want you to think about this. We've been reading Proverbs. And as God is directing Solomon to write many of these Proverbs, picture God as your father, writing down on paper how he wants you to live your life. Think about this. And what we as a people, what the world sees as control over their lives, maybe even what I falsely portray as rules and legalism, he as a father is preaching it as protection. Right? It's his whole point. I may come across, you may come across as preaching rules on people. A lot of must-dos and must-do-nots to keep us from fun. That's how we see it. To keep us from the experience of what the world has to offer us. Our Father sees it as protection. Sees it not as negative, but sees himself as good from all the dangers that the world lures us away from. Here is God, our Heavenly Father. He has kids running off, doesn't he? And he can't find his kid. Picture this. God, he can't find you. He can't find his kids. And he's worried about their protection and their safety. He's concerned for his children. He has emotions, right? You think he's not in heaven like, oh my gosh, where are my kids going? You don't think he's like that. Of course he's like that. Picture her saying, get back here, kid. He's like, oh my. He's saying, I don't care about you right now. Because you're okay. I'm leaving the 99. I'm going to find the one. He says, my other children are okay. You sit tight. I'll be back. Because I've got a kid to go grab. You feel this hand on the back. I love you. And I want the best for you. I will lay down my life. I did lay God. He's just trying to give us boundaries to keep us close and to stay safe. And he gets to Proverbs. Let's turn to Proverbs. He gets all the way to Proverbs 18 when he's writing this to his children. I've had other kids leave to do. He gets to Proverbs 18, verse 10. It says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. It says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. The title of the message tonight is Strong Tower in These Days. Picture. You guys picture what these cities looked like back then. Massive walls, right? Think of Jericho. Massive walls. So large that they would build houses and have streets on top of the wall. That's a big wall. When you can drive, I was going to say cars. I don't think they drove their cars on the wall. Not that it wasn't big enough, but I don't think they had cars. That's where my brain goes. I'm thinking they were driving their Lamborghinis right down Center Waldom or whatever. Think of these walls, how big they were. But the strong tower now, you look up at this city and you see these walls towering. But the strong tower was massive, way, way higher than these walls. It was the fortified place. It was the place that you could see the enemy coming. It was made out of huge stones, huge rocks that you couldn't break through. It was the strong place. It was the most fortified of all the places in the city. It was the main defense. It protected the people. It was the chief fortification for the city. In fact, King David wrote this in Psalm, just write this down, 61, 2 through 4. This is what David wrote. From the end of the earth I will cry to you. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. For you have been a shelter for me, a strong tower from my enemy. I will abide in your tabernacle forever. I will trust in the shelter of your wings. Here's the reality of our lives. You guys know this. I preach this all the time. You're a sinner, and so am I. We're all sinners. We all have sinful desires, don't we? We all have lusts of the flesh that draw us away, don't we? These desires that draw us away from God and His will, don't we? We see the ice creams. We see the whales of this world, and we chase after them like a child, just wanting to have fun in this world, right? We see these things that parade before us, and we're just like a kid looking through glass like, wow, this is awesome. Look at all this stuff. There's rides. There's cool stuff. That's what we do. We're all sinful. We all have flesh. We all chase those things. We all desire, just like a kid looking to all this fun stuff. But can I tell you, which you also know, we have a hole in us, don't we? We have a hole that we're trying to fill, aren't we? An emptiness that is inside of us. Every single person, every human that's walked this planet has an emptiness inside of them. But they were created with that, right? We know this. You were created with a hole, an emptiness. That's why you're chasing. That's why we chase these things, because there's something missing in us. And we're searching for something to satisfy that place. Something to fill that hole. Something to make us happy. to bring us peace in our life. And we all know that that hole, that void in our life can be filled by one thing and one thing only, and that is God. So we see a world mocking God, putting down God, putting down Christians that are narrow. But what they don't understand is as they chase to fill themselves up, what they don't understand is we've already found it, and we're simply trying to tell them that those things of the world, the whales, the ice cream, does. And that's simply what we're trying to proclaim. For many, they spend much of their lives chasing, looking to, running after something to fill that place. And can I tell you, in this battle, all of us have it because we're sinners. And we're all like that child sitting in front of the glass looking at all the cool stuff. We all have it. We all do it. In this battle with our sin and battle for happiness, we have three options. And I want to preach about these three options quickly. First option for us tonight is to give in to our desires. It's a very real option. We as Christians, especially the super crazy Christians, say, oh, no, that's not an option. We can chase and give in to our desires. Everything that our eye looks to, we can chase after. Everything our heart desires, we can run to. And this is a real option for everyone. Many choose this option, don't they? Many choose this option. Many of our Hollywood idols, these athletes, many of these athletes today, we never thought we'd see the day, are billionaires. Billionaires. By throwing a football, hitting a golf ball. Billionaires. They have everything. And they are our idol. And we look to them. We see it when we talk to our youth, even in this church. And we say, who do you want to be like? I want to be like this football player. I want to be, right? To make me feel important. They fill that hole of I have what I need and what I can have, right? It fills that thing. And many of these people have everything they've these actors in the that you could ever have, don't they? You just pick any husband, they do, right? That beauty could not buy and could not fill continually. What's interesting is the church, we don't watch our idols and we don't realize that, wow, I want a wife like yours. The cars that they have, the houses that they have, the freedom in life that they have. We see these people that seemingly have everything killing themselves. Why? Because they cannot find something to fill the hole. And as they're mocking Christians, they mock that, and yet then they go kill themselves because they can't fill it. It's a shame. It's a shame. They're chasing, but they're miserable. Because they were created with a hole. They were created incomplete. They were created with a void that only God can fill. Even Solomon, which I just mentioned, writes about this option, doesn't he? In Ecclesiastes. Can we go to Ecclesiastes right after Proverbs? Ecclesiastes 2. We're going to read 7 through 10. I just read this the other night. This is Solomon. Talking about wealthy athletes. Solomon was the richest man to ever walk the earth, the wisest man to ever walk the earth. Said, I acquired male and female servants and had servants born into my house. Yes, I had greater possessions of herds and flocks than all who were in Jerusalem before me. I also gathered for myself silver and gold and special treasures of kings and of provinces. I acquired male and female singers, which were concubines, delights of sons of men. I think it's so funny that people say, well, geez, I can't handle a one wife. How could you have 1,000 women? Trust me, these weren't wives that just ran around and nagged a man. These women were there to do whatever he wanted them to do. 1,000. He got to choose whoever he wanted, when he wanted. And the men that are saying, I can't deal with one wife. Exactly, you just divorced her and you chased another one because she didn't fill that hole. And Solomon's sitting there saying, I had 1,000 and they didn't fill it. 1,000 of the most beautiful women. You think he had ugly women? He had beautiful women, all of them. He got to choose whoever he wanted. He said, of the sons of men and musical instruments of all kinds. So I became great and excellent more than all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. Whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. You see that Lamborghini, that Ferrari fly by you on the highway? Guess what? He said, hey, pull over right now. That is now my car. And he got it. He didn't have Lamborghinis, but I'm sure there were some pretty cool horses, maybe. I don't know. Chariots, all right. He said, I did not withhold my heart from any pleasure. From any pleasure. For my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my reward from all my labor. Number one was the option that Solomon chose. We as hyper-spiritual Christians say, well, I would never choose that. The smartest man alive chose that, didn't he? That's what he chose. That was his option. That's what he chose. Well, he didn't know no better. Oh, he knew better. His dad was King David, that before he died sat him down and said, boy, let me tell you some stuff. This isn't how you need to live your life. He raised this kid right. He knew better, and this is the option he chose. You guys tell me. Let's talk about this. What was the result of Solomon's life from his choices? What happened? We know. Somebody tell me. Split. What else? His shortened life. He died sooner than he should have, the Bible says, because of this choice. He says that everything he gained, this is the wisest, richest man ever, writing a letter to you, telling you I've had everything. Is he bragging here? No, I think he's begging you to say, I've done it. I've gotten it. I've had it. It didn't fill me. And at the very end of his shortened life, because of this identity it's like wind. He says, I'm chariots. I've got the land. I've got the temples. And it's like wind. It just people. It was worthless. Absolute worthless. And what does he say before he dies? The very end of all of it. Read it. God, it's all about him. It's all for him. Just live for him. As a dad saying, Solomon, come back. Come back. Number two, we can bootstrap it. We can bootstrap it. We can manage and muster, can't we? We can wake up every day and say, I will not, I will not, I will not, I will not. It's an option. We can must follow the do's and the don't do's. We can work hard. We can battle through the desires that we have. Through the pain and the effort, we can fight it. 9 out of 10 of those people, probably a lot more, or give up. And it's probably a lot more than that. Those that try, of you kids, if you try to muster up the strength within you, are going to give up or give in. And guess what the result is? Back to number one. You just jumped back to number one. Because your heart has not changed. Heart hasn't changed. Number 3. We can see our God. We can see our Father as our strong tower. Amen. We can see our Father as our shelter, as our protector, as our provider, as our sustainer, as everything to us. Now, it's so easy to say that. I've lived my entire life around Christians that claim that, but they're really in number 2, or they're really in number 1, fooling everybody. I'm not talking about what you say with your mouth. That doesn't impress anybody. What impresses us is that kid standing at the glass, looking at the whales and the ice cream and the world around them that's at their fingertips, and they say, man, this is so cool. But man, I just want to enjoy this day with my daddy. Dad, can I just sit on your lap? Can I get on your shoulders and look at the whales from your shoulders, Dad? Because I just love you. And as much joy as I get from this, Dad, I get so much more from you. And that truly becomes the people that we are. Truly. Not in word, in deed, in action, in our heart, innermost part of our life, that becomes who we are. We realize that He is the only one and only thing that can fill that hole in our life. He is the only one. I look at kids, and some of these kids, I'm not even sure they're old enough yet to understand what we're talking about. But can I tell you, these over here are old enough. And they're getting ready. No offense to Lindsay and Jake, because they're old enough, they've already stepped out a little bit. But trust me, they're just stepping out. My kids, Ty, just stepping out. And it's easy to say, I choose him. It's easy. Until you see that whale swim by. Until you're in marriage and you realize she doesn't fill me. He doesn't do it. And I'm here to tell you guys, they're not meant to do it. He is meant to do it. Right? I was so happy to marry these two because they finally got it. That she isn't the one that's going to fill me. He's not the one that's going to fill me. I'm already filled. Now I just want to enjoy it with somebody else. It's like grabbing your friend, saying, hey, that whale's awesome, but come sit with my, let's hang with Daddy. That is what is awesome. I'm telling you, Ty, you can live with the hunger that you have right now for the rest of your life. It doesn't have to end here. We can live in the joy, in the happiness that we have for the rest of our lives. It doesn't have to end. The world doesn't compare. And that's what it got, this book, and we read it and we think, oh, the rules. God, you're just trying to keep me from these things. And God's saying, no, you're missing the point. It's not about what you can't do or can do. It's about the fact that I'm better than all of it. The fact that I am the strong tower that stands above it all. Come hang out with me and see how cool I am. We as Christians think, I can't, just like the kids do. And God's saying it's not that you can't. But you're going to find at the end of the day that it doesn't fill you. You can have 1,000 beautiful women, but it doesn't fill you. You can have the strongest, most good-looking men, and you realize, wow, he's about as dumb as a box of rocks. That's what they say to me. They say, man, you are good-looking, but you are not so smart. Don't look to me, that's what I say. Because God becomes our desire. You guys get that? This isn't something we say, it's something we live. It's something we become. I was thinking when we were singing, man, I'm going to get off track here, but it's only a little after 8, so we got time. I was thinking as we were singing, I was thinking, it's almost like the ones that learn to worship. Now, I don't mean anything by that. You can worship the way you want. I'm not defining how that looks. I'm simply saying the ones that truly worship God with all their heart. You can do it sitting, standing, on your knees, hands raised, hands in your pockets. I don't care. That's not the point. They're going to have a front row seat to God because it's like all the rest of them are in training, right? But we know how to worship God. We're going to the front right off the bat. But here's what I felt. Shane, the only ones that are going to be there are the ones that know how to worship me. There's not going to be people in heaven that don't know how to worship God because they have a joy. They have found God. And I don't care if you dance, spin, shout, kneel, stand, sit. It doesn't matter. Your life is worship to God because you have this deep desire. You found the hole, that plug, and you said, He is the one. He's the one. It is a change of our heart. It's a change of our entire life. We don't just look different. We are different. Everything about us is different. And everybody knows it. And we begin to actually start chasing the strong tower. We begin to want the strong tower more than anything else. Do we still have desires? Of course we do. Do I look? Of course I do. You're lying to me if you tell me you don't. We still have lusts. We still have desires. But it begins to get washed away by our desire and love for our Maker. You guys get this? We begin to chase Him with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind, and with all our strength. Church that thinks he was cooler than everybody else one day realized that the money, the houses, the women, the stuff I was chasing, realized one day it hit me. That's all vanity. It's all chasing the wind. And I have found my Savior. And I'm going to worship Him with everything I got. Just like a kid running up, shouting at the whale. Why can we not sit and shout at our God? Because we love Him so much. When the world is chasing pride, worshiping whatever they worship, can I not lay on the ground and worship my God, my Maker? Because I have realized for the first time in my life, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm not after their attention. I'm after His attention. And I love Him with everything I've got. He becomes our desires. He becomes what we want. And when that happens in your life, men, when that woman parades herself before you, you may take a glance for a second, but then it just doesn't even faze you. Because you say, my heart is on Him, right? It begins to happen, doesn't it? As a teenage boy, I never thought it would happen. Then you get older and you realize, man, that's all vanity, chasing the wind. God is my dad, and He's there with me at this amusement park, and I can just hang with Him. And women, when the men that make more money don't have the gut like I have, parade themselves before you, it's like you don't even really notice because your desire, your heart has changed. That is what this is talking about. Not rules. Saying, come climb to the strong tower with me, and you will be changed. All the world's, the best thing the world has to offer when it parades itself, the cars, the money, the freedom, the seemingly joy, parades itself You say, God, you know what? World, I know you don't understand this. Best friend, I know you don't get this. And they think you're crazy. They think you're an absolute lunatic. But I truly would rather not go ride that with you, enjoy that with you. I'd rather go sit on my couch and read and hang out with my God. And the world says you're just bootstrapping it. You're just trying to be a better person. And you say, no. The hole you're trying to fill in me has already been filled. And I want to go hang with the one who has filled it. Have you ever sat and read your Bible? Tears just flowing down because you realize how good he is. It's funny because I'm just rambling now. I told some of them I have no idea how I'm going to end, so I'm just rambling. It's almost as if they're saying, Shane, you don't see how good it can be. And it's like, brother, man, you really don't get it, do you? You don't know how good I have it. You don't know. And he's that good. All the drugs, alcohol, not even the least tempted. Because we don't want it anymore. We just want him. We've already had the hole filled. We already have our eyes and our hearts focused on the one that completes us and fills it. Now we're just sitting in his presence, enjoying him. I believe tonight, your daddy, your father, greatest father that could ever be, is sitting here tonight. Would you just close your eyes? As you're reading Proverbs, what we see as legalism, as what we see as controlling, what we see as I got to stop doing this. It's not God giving you more rules, it's God crying out to you. And tonight he's sitting here, and I believe he wants to tell you, child, I'm here. I'm here. I know the world looks fun. Emptiness, of brokenness, of loneliness. I know that it's there. But I want to fill it. And I can. And I will. Would you come? Would you come? It's the cry of his heart. Let's just sit in his presence for just a second, can't we?